All right, well, welcome to Facebook Live again here with Impact. We're so excited that you're with us on our regularly scheduled monthly Facebook Live event. If you like this Facebook Live event, we'd encourage you to like us on it and just let us know what you like, or even if you have questions, don't be afraid to ask those questions down there so that we can help answer anything that we can, because we want to be a great resource here at Impact for you as you're thinking about this whole idea, or even pressing into how do we really create a disciple-making movement like Jesus did.
That's awesome.
So my name's Glenn Underhill, and I am the executive pastor here at Crossroads Church, and the man to my right over here, you want to introduce yourself and let everybody know who you are?
Absolutely, man. So my name's Ken Adams, and I am the lead pastor here at Crossroads Church in Noonan, Georgia.
Yeah.
And so also the founder and director of Impact Ministries, which is actually a ministry coming out of Crossroads Church to help Christians and churches understand what it means to be disciples and to build disciples. And so we've been swinging at that for a long time, man, and we just love coming alongside of churches and church leaders and trying to help them figure out really what does it mean, Glenn, for the church to become a movement of multiplying disciples that are fully trained disciples, and that's part of what we're going to talk about today, right?
Absolutely. Because, when you're talking about this whole idea of, we've spent a lot of time talking about going from untrained to fully trained, that Jesus had a strategy, and that was his target, and he understood that. And we've kind of spelled out for our listeners this whole idea of a fully trained disciple is someone who carries the marks.
Absolutely.
The conduct, the character of Jesus. And we've identified that there are 7 marks of a fully trained disciple.
Yeah. And let me say something real quick.
Yeah.
Because those 7 marks are not things that we've come up with.
No, not at all.
Those 7 marks are actually demonstrated in the life of Jesus and demonstrated in the life of his disciples and demonstrated in the disciples of the disciples.
Right.
So we have multiple generations of disciples that are demonstrating the character of Christ and certain marks of the conduct of Christ. And so, again, not something we've come up with. It is literally right there in the scriptures. It's right there in the Gospels, and then you see it in the book of Acts. So we would say that because we see it in Jesus, we clearly ought to see it in Glenn and Ken.
Absolutely. And then in the disciples that we're investing our life.
We
and
should
time
see it
into.
there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So one of those 7 marks, Ken, that you really see, and I think is an area that unfortunately I think might kind of not be where it needs to be in a lot of our lives, is this area of being a manager.
Yeah.
And Jesus talked a lot about the importance of managing our time and how we manage our time and how we manage our relationships and how we manage our treasure. So I just thought maybe we might spend some time unpacking that, because it really is a big deal, and especially in our culture, when you look at what Jesus talks about and what he was passing on to his disciples and the lifestyle he wanted them to really replicate in terms of being a manager, it looks very different from our culture.
Man, it really does, Glenn. And it's funny that that a lot of times when we think about what a disciple looks like, it's crazy because a lot of times we don't think of the fact that a disciple is really a good life manager, a manager of the resources that God has given them. Back in the day, we use the word manager, we use the word steward. And it's sad because a lot of times I grew up in a culture where stewardship meant money. It is so much more than that. And the reality is that every one of us are called to be a manager, or we're called to be a steward of the resources that God has given us. So they don't belong to us. We're not the owner of it.
Nope.
But we're the managers of it. And so truth is, everybody's a manager, right? Everybody's a manager. The question isn't really not whether or not what you're managing, but how well are you managing it. So, you think about this, Glenn. So God has given us X number of hours in a day.
Right.
Right?
Right. I only have 24 hours, best I know.
And you got the same number of hours that I do. We both got 168.
Yep.
So the question is, how well are we managing those hours for the things of God? The second thing he's given us is that he's given us a certain amount of financial or physical resources. Now, we may not all have the same amount, but what we do with it either honors God or it doesn't honor God, right?
Absolutely.
So we may have different amounts, but it's what we do with what we have that matters. A third thing that we all have is we all have a physical body. We have a physical human body that God has given to us to be used for His glory, to be able to accomplish His mission while we're here on this earth. And so how well I manage my temple, if you will, or my body, really does matter to God, because everything that I'm able to do for God here on this in this life operates through this body that I have. And so we want to manage our bodies well. And then the last thing is He's given us relationships. And so I want to manage my marriage well. I want to manage my family well. I want to manage my friendships well. So I want to be a good manager of all of the resources that God has given me, because they're really not mine.
Right.
They really belong to Him. Right. So everything that I have belongs to God, but it's been entrusted into my care. And if I am the disciple that He wants me to be, then I need to learn what it means to be a better manager. Crazy thing about it is, Glenn, is that when you look at a lot of our culture and a lot of what we see in the church, we don't see anything different.
Right.
And that's backwards, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's why pressing into this is so important, is because we are called to look different. We are called to do it differently, and we should be doing it better than anybody else.
Absolutely, man. We should. In fact, it's interesting that when the world looks at how we manage our bodies, they ought to want to know what we have. Right. When they look at how we manage our families and our relationships, the world ought to be attracted to Christ because of the way we manage what we've been given. Our finances ought to be something that because we have so much freedom in our finances, that the world is saying, tell me how you do that. The world ought to be looking at the way we manage our time, and instead of being stressed out like the rest of the culture, they ought to be looking at us going, man, tell me how to maximize my days. And Glenn, I just got to be honest with you, man. I think that in all of the areas of discipleship, we get a lot of it right. We probably get Bible study good. We probably get witnessing somewhat good. We probably get prayer good. I think when it comes to managing, man, we are behind the 8 ball. And I say that because I know in my own life that even when I graduated from seminary and I started pastoring, man, my time was mismanaged. My relationship, I wasn't even taking care of my body. Right. And so Glenn, I can tell you, I know firsthand how important it is to understand, to learn what it means to manage what God's given me, differently from the way the culture, to have a biblical approach to management rather than just a worldly approach to management.
So in light of all that, it really is important to really help people know how to demonstrate that differently, how to do it differently, how to help coach them differently. And I know one of the things we've been doing here at Impact is really looking at what can we do, what resource could we provide that would help to people to be the manager that Jesus intends us to be, so that we would look like the manager that Jesus was, because He was the master manager. Man,
absolutely, He was the master manager. I mean, you look at Jesus' life, man, He managed His relationships great. He clearly managed His resources well. He managed His time to accomplish the mission. I mean, Jesus was the consummate life manager. He did it great. And so what ought to happen is that if we are truly disciples of Christ, we may not get it perfect, but we ought to be making progress.
Right.
We ought to be growing as managers, better managers, not backing up as managers. And so part of that is not, part of that is just learning and knowing what to do and how to do it. And so most of the people that I know, their heart is right and their desire is there, but they don't really understand how. You know, think about this. You know, whenever you buy a new vehicle, okay, so the manufacturer, the person that created it, will put a manual in the glove compartment, and that manual is the instruction manual for how to for every single part of that vehicle, how to make it work, how to operate it. You know, it's an operations manual, right? So the cool thing is that that we have been given the owner's manual, if you will. And so God's word is the very best manual in the world on how to better manage your time, better manage your relationships, better manage your body, and better manage your money, hands down. And so we've got to be able to take God's word and the areas of management in our lives, and we've got to be able to connect the dots and help people discover from God's word, with Christ as our model, how do you become a better manager? And we're trying to do that at Crossroads, and also through the resources that we developed here at Impact.
Yeah, and so I know that we like I was saying, we just developed one, and I think it'd be a great time for us just to maybe show folks what that looks like, just really a quick intro into it, because it really is a great piece, and a piece we've actually been working on as a laboratory here, so it's not untested.
We have. So we've just created a brand new resource. It's called Managing Your World, and so it is a 5-week study to help people discover from God's Word. So this book won't change your life, but the book that it takes you to will change your life. And so this is a resource that we've developed to help people discover what it means to become a better life manager. You can pick one up through impactdisciples.com. Basically just covers our cost of printing it and being able to ship it out, that kind of thing. But it is a brand new resource that we're using here in our church, and I think it'll be really helpful to a lot of churches. It'll just give them at least a beginning point. It can help lead you into other specific resources like financial peace and other types of individual management areas. So really, Managing Your World is a good, really and truly, it's a good beginner place, easy to do, has a weekly lesson for 5 weeks, has memory verses and daily readings, that kind of stuff. It's very, very easy to do. And so we just want to introduce this to all the folks that kind of connect with us at Impact and let them know that this resource is now available.
Yeah. So how do they go get that resource?
So
if they're interested in it.
Yeah, so you can just go to our website, impactdisciples.com, and if not, you can order from there. But if you need to, you can email us or call us, and we'll help you to do that. And this actually fits with a sort of a companion piece that we have called Reaching Our World. And so we're trying to help people not only become better managers, but also to become better messengers. And so we have been given the message of Jesus Christ that we want to share with our Jerusalem, our Judea, our Samaria, and the ends of the earth. So we're trying to create resources here at Impact that help churches and church leaders know what it means to build disciples. And so, we'd love to help churches figure out how to do that.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you for taking the time to be with us this month, and we hope that this has been extremely beneficial to you as you're thinking about how do we go about building a movement of multiplying disciples that don't look like us or others, really look like Jesus, and really reflect the character and the conduct of Jesus. So again, if we can be of any help here at Impact, please let us know. And we'd love it if you would go on and maybe look at these resources and see how they could help. If we can partner with you in any way, please reach out to us and let us know.
Yeah.
We have a staff and a team that would love to be of help. All right, so have a great rest of your day, and we'll look forward to seeing you right here next month on our Facebook Live event.